Philip Upali Wijewardene, Sinhala. Sinhala letter Uiana, Sinhala letter Alpa Prayana Payana, Sinhala vowel sign Lapilla, Sinhala letter Dantajalayana, Sinhala vowel sign Kediaspilla, Sinhala letter Viana, Sinhala vowel sign Kediaspilla, Sinhala letter Alpa Prayana Jayana, Sinhala vowel sign Digakambuva, Sinhala letter Viana, Sinhala letter Rayana, Sinhala sign Alarguna, Sinhala letter Maharaprayana Diana, Sinhala letter Dantajanayana. The 17th of February 1938, the 13th of February 1983 was a Sri Lankan business magnate. Considered one of the best-known entrepreneurs in Sri Lanka, he was the founder and chairman of Upali Group, the first multinational business in Sri Lanka. The Upali Group, which diversified from confectionery to electronics and automobile manufacturing, publishing, print media, leisure and aviation, developed many of its own brands such as Candas, Delta, Unique, Upali Air, Upali Mazda and Upali newspapers, which Insight magazine UK said was achieved largely through bravado and wit. He was presumed dead on the 13th of February 1983 when his private Learjet disappeared soon after leaving Malaysia en route to Colombo over the Straits of Malacca. Early life and education. Born to the wealthy Wijewardene family from Kelania, he was the only son of Don Walter Trudugal Wijewardene, who died when he was 18 months old. Upali was brought up by his mother Enola Kalianawati Wijewardene at the family home Setawatwalai. He had two sisters, Enoha Wijewardene and Kalyani at Tagal. He attended Royal College, Colombo, and later graduated from Queen's College at Cambridge University in England. In 1982, he converted to Buddhism. An amateur racing enthusiast, Wijewardene raced his mother's Opel Capitan at the Kachukurund races in the early 1960s. Upali Group. Returning to Sri Lanka, Upali Wijewardene became a management trainee at Lever Brothers, where he was in charge of soap processing. He left Levers following a disagreement with its chairman. He thereafter ventured out on his own after his uncle Senator Sarath Chandradasa Wijsingh gave him substantial shares of his Ceylon Chocolates Company. Diversifying his holdings, he founded the Upali Group of companies during the mid-1960s as he developed a conglomerate of companies. Manufacturing, chocolates and confectionery, Candas, Delta soaps, Crystal, Tingle secure radios, air conditioners, Unique, automobile, Upali Motor Company, established in the 1970s, which under license assembled UMC Mazda and Upali Feed at the Upali Industrial Complex in Homagama. Aviation, Upali Air, operating several aircraft for private domestic and international flights. Investments. Upali Wijewardene made significant investments in Malaysia and Singapore, and was in the process of opening offices in New York. Publishing. Upali newspapers. Newspapers Devayana, The Island and Navalia. Comics. Chitra Mithra, February 1981. Within a few months, the magazine reached a circulation of 200,000. Media initially described the magazine as romance, booze, money, travel, dreams, adventure, wild women, crammed into 16 pages. It expanded into 32 pages with a different story on every page. Editor Janaka Ratnayak noted that the publication had many topics: romance, detective, sci-fi, heroes, 2 pages built around movie stars, and almost a page of pen pal. 1993. All the stories were serialized and in black and white with a spot of one color. The comic magazine fell apart after Wijwardene's death and ceased publication in 1986 with a circulation of 15,000. Radnaik cited the failure of the magazine to Wijwardene's early death, substandard printing quality of the paper due to unskilled mechanics and competition from other magazines. A British journalist, Matt Miller, described him in Insight magazine, largely through bravado and wit. Philip Upali Wijewardene parlayed a bankrupt confectionery plant into Sri Lanka's only multinational business group and one of Asia's leading cocoa-based products conglomerates. Intriguingly, he accomplished his overseas empire building at a time when his country strictly prohibited the export of currency. And now the 43-year-old commodity wizard, this was 1981, has started what could be Upali's third plan. He would be willing, he says with uncharacteristic restraint, to become Sri Lanka's president someday. Horse racing. Upali Wijewardene was influential in restarting horse racing at the New Areli racecourse. He was the chairman board of stewards of the Sri Lanka Turf Club and was a keen turfite who raced in Sri Lanka and England, where his horse, Rasa Penang, won the Jersey Stakes at Royal Ascot, ridden by the world-famous jockey Lester Piggott. In 1980 he also won the Singapore Derby at the Bukit Timah racecourse in Singapore and the Perak Derby at the Perak Turf Club in Malaysia with his horse, named Viren. He raced General Addy 2 and won many races in England. He flew to all these countries where his horses were racing, in his private aircraft. He made it a point to fly from Newmarket Racecourse in England to New Areli Racecourse in Sri Lanka to watch his horses and ponies racing there. Government. In 1978, Upali Wijewardene was appointed by President J.R.J. Wijewardene as the first Chairman Director General of the Greater Colombo Economic Commission, GCEC, now known as the Board of Investment of Sri Lanka. The Sri Lankan political establishment did not favor his arrival in politics. In this position Wijewardene worked to attract foreign investment to develop local industries in the new open economy. He formed free trade zones in Katuniag, Bayagama and Kagala. In 1980, he traveled to the Silicon Valley and signed 5 agreements there, including one with Motorola. The construction of chip plants started in 1983, but the war brought bombing over the country, killed some of the engineers assigned to the construction of the plants, which led the chip manufacturers to leave Sri Lanka for Malaysia. Disappearance. On the 13th of February 1983, his private jet, a Learjet 35A, took off from Kuala Lumpur at 8:41 p.m., bound for Colombo. On board with him were his Malaysian lawyer S.M. Ratnam, Upali Group Director Anandapalli Muhandaram, pilot Captain Noah Nandapa, co-pilot Sydney Soisa, and stewardess Senanaki. 15 minutes later, the aircraft disappeared while flying over the Straits of Malacca. Extensive search operation by air and naval units of Sri Lanka, India, United States, Soviet Union, Australia, Indonesia, and Malaysia failed to locate any evidence of a crash. A will suspected to be part of the disappeared plane was found on Pandang Island, led the authority to conclude to a mid-air explosion. Later investigations revealed that this wheel was not manufactured by the manufacturer of the plane. According to K. Godage, former Malaysian High Commissioner, the government of Sri Lanka did not show interest in further investigating the disappearance. Personal life. Born to the Wijewardene family, Upali Wijewardene was a cousin of President J.R.J. Wijewardene and scientist Ray Wijewardene. In 1975, he married Lakmini Ratwant, daughter of Dr. Sivali Ratwant, brother of Sir Mavo Bandaranag. She is the granddaughter of Barnes Ratwat Disawa. He grew up in his ancestral home, the Setawatawala, and moved to his own house in Thurston Road designed by Geoffrey Bawa, which included its own helipad for his private helicopter. He also had a country house, the Sunnycroft Bungalow in New Areli. He was a car racing enthusiast. He was the Basnayak Noam, chief lay custodian of the Kalania Raja Mahavihara, which had been supported by his family. See also list of people who disappeared. Upali newspapers. References. External links. Wijewardene House, Colombo, Sri Lanka.